Renha is a guy who suddenly gets hired by a random god to protect the universe until he meets an invincible wolf that maxes out his stats, giving him SS rank powers. The story begins as we see a boy named Ren, an orphan who lost his parents in a car accident and spent all of the money left by his parents on tuition and lottery tickets. Despite graduating top of his class, he faces challenges. He's jobless, sleeping in the park, and has no money. But he still dreams of randomly getting rich and marrying a cute girl, just like most of the guys on Earth. Finally, putting his two brain cells to work, he decides to rent some rooms in the house his parents left him. Luckily, a cute girl named Lily, looking for a cheap place to live, shows up. While walking to the house, Ren notices some weird bats approaching. Suddenly, Lily transforms into a werewolf, and our boy starts to freak out, thinking he's living a nightmare. A different girl suddenly confronts Lily, and they begin to battle until she leaps into the air, hovering mid-flight. Ren watches in awe as the mysterious girl unfolds red, bat-like wings and wonders what kind of twisted scheme is unfolding before him. The vampire swiftly closes in and urges him to flee for his life. Forget about garlic or holy water. Lily just hurls a brick at her. It works, and she reverts to her normal self. They make their way to the house, eat, sleep, and then the cycle starts again. But this time, the vampire forces her way into his home. She insists he run from Lily, wrongly believing she's been kidnapped by her. The two engage in another fight, and Ren intervenes to prevent any further damage to his house. The vampire introduces herself as Vivian and explains that she can no longer stay in the abandoned cemetery and wishes to rent his place. Since Ren needs the money, he simply accepts despite seeing the girls catfight the whole time. He suddenly receives a call from an unknown number saying he will be interviewed for a job. He arrives at the place and looks up to see a floating portal to another dimension. He gets transported into it, and there he meets his unknown caller, Raven. She explains she's one of the gods who supervise and maintain peace across different universes. She explains he will work for a company named Space, and his job is to protect mysterious species like Lily and Vivian who are being targeted by the Demon Hunters, an organization set to destroy all races across the universes. Basically, his job is to make sure his tenants are both safe and happy. If he turns down the offer, his memories will vanish and his tenants will disappear. However, with his salary of $20K a month, he doesn't hesitate to accept. He heads back home, falls asleep, and finds himself plunged into a dream world. There, a pack of wolves ambushes him, but with Lily's help, he manages to escape and wake up. At first, he believes it was just a regular nightmare, but then he notices the wolf fur in his hand, which seems to boost his physical abilities. Vivian senses no dark magic and tells Lily to sniff it to confirm if it belongs to her relatives. Lily sniffs it, only to realize she's been called a dog again. Vivian pops out her wings and in her celestial form creates two amulets for Ren to choose from, claiming they're silver amulets she picked up from an Egyptian village centuries ago. She even shows off a bunch of other stuff she either found or earned. Ren asks if any of it suppresses her blood-sect powers, but Lily just calls it all trash. Once Vivian is done lecturing Lily, she bites her finger and draws a line with her blood on Ren's hand, but it vanishes. She tries again, and when that also fails, she switches to a direct method, which ends up putting Lily to sleep instead. Vivian concludes her blood magic has no effect on Ren, and just as they start thinking it might be due to his new job, Ren gets a call from his boss who summons him for an urgent task the next day. The next day, Ren pulls up to a fancy mansion that someone as broke as him has no business being near to meet Raven. The hype fizzles out fast when nobody shows up at the gate. Then Raven shows up out of nowhere in what looks like weirdly hot Animal Crossing cosplay and says the massive greatsword he drools over is just for cutting girthy tree branches and tells him to be a good boy and head inside to wait. Inside, she finally walks in and starts talking about a terminal buddy that's apparently a hot trend among the ladies and then slams it on the table. As soon as Ren touches it, the device lights up and Raven explains he can control it with his thoughts, so he gives it a try and an emergency panel suddenly opens. The sassy lady mentions it might come in handy when things start getting cooked, but Ren panics because he's just a gentleman, mostly gentle and without the man, so she shouldn't expect him to go on dangerous missions. Raven tells him to calm down because he's technically immortal now since the organization just needs a new host body to stuff his soul into if he dies. After that, she kicks him out of her office and nearly forgets to brief him about the mission before dropping him straight into it. Before that, she drags him to the enhancement center to fix up his body before the mission and pulls out a chamber that looks more like a medieval torture device. Ren questions if it's even safe and flat out refuses to step in. So she tells him to grow a pair and Jackie Chan kicks Bro straight into it before sealing it shut like she means business. He panics inside and swears to sue her for harassment, but she ignores the rant and presses buttons that make the coffin spin like a cursed beyblade until lightning crashes down and the whole thing disappears into thin air. While his screams echo, Raven casually wonders if she hit the wrong setting. Ren ends up in a dark open field under two glowing moons. As he walks through the freezing windy plains, he doubts the enhancement worked, and the terminal whooshes out of his pocket to explain that Raven accidentally picked the version meant for special needs kids. He begs the device to warm him up, but Terminal argues he's not a freaking servant, and as the newest tech in the hood, the most it can do is give hot information. As they head into the cave, the Terminal lets him know he's in a parallel world and says there's no time to explain anything, so he should lock in 3 things. First, if he dies here, he dies for real. Second, he should never question the weird stuff he sees. And third, he's not some stray mutt, so the Terminal prefers staying tucked safely inside his pocket. Ren tells the floating knockoff Roomba from Temu to shut it since he feels something nearby. A pair of wolves step out and start pacing toward him, but the Terminal warns him not to run because his sad little noodle legs won't outrun anything. The wolves lunge without warning, but Ren lands a lucky shot on the first one, while the others get blasted back by a barrier covering his whole body. The Terminal claps for him, discovering Rigid Shield, which auto-activates once he gets hit, but his win streak ends when the wolves start howling to summon the whole squad. Ren throws himself into a sprint and ends up beneath a big black wolf, who almost snaps his neck if not for the shield saving him again. The Alpha lowers his head and asks what kind of human survives a hit like that since his fangs snapped, even though he's built different from the other dogs, kinda like how Lily brags about herself. Ren pretends to be a humble traveler, but the Alpha instantly calls Cap because there are no human settlements anywhere near his territory. Even so, Ren feels kind of hopeful to hear that humans exist here, but that hope dies quickly when the Alpha calls in the full pack, including the baby wolves, to eat him alive. The kids start whining that he's way too bony, which annoys the Alpha, but Ren jumps in to say they can chill because he knows a good dentist if the Alpha just takes him to the nearest village. On the way, he asks the Alpha more about its world and finds out fast that humans stay greedy no matter what dimension they crawl into. When they arrive, Ren keeps his promise and walks into the abandoned hut. Inside, he tries to use the Terminal as a flashlight, but it gets so pissed it yanks him around until he falls. On the floor, his hand brushes against something weird, so he begs the annoyed hunk of metal to quit being salty and turn the light back on. That's when the ground starts rumbling. A mysterious aura surrounds them, and a random beam shoots into the sky, erasing whatever it hits like it never existed. Meanwhile, Lily patches up a scruffy puppy, but after she lets out a sneeze, the dog runs like she's radioactive. She chases after it and ends up crashing into a tall Jack guy. The dude doesn't even flinch. He just keeps walking, leaving her stunned how he didn't move an inch after getting banged by her. She heads back with the puppy in hand and catches Vivian in a suspiciously close moment with the vacuum cleaner. Vivian acts like nothing happened and changes the topic fast, saying the perfect place she found Lily, the perfect sleeping spot for her, as she points at a doghouse she found next to some homeless man. Back at the enhancement center, Ren returns and gets a casual welcome from Raven, who asks how it went. He brings up the shield and whines that she should have given him a cool power or something actually helpful. Raven explains that the upgrades need time to settle into his system before he sees real results. She then tells him the dream world he visited is sort of like a parallel universe that says most humans can't cross over on a whim. Ren finds it strange because he's been there before in his sleep and hands her a piece of fur he brought back. With that, she kicks him out of the mansion and advises him not to overthink anything because his next mission in Europe needs his full attention. As he heads out with a ticket, Raven lights the fur with a spell, watching it burn as a sign that something from the other world just leaked into theirs. At the same time, a green-haired guy who seems to be a demon hunter gets stripped out and prepares to fly off to Europe as well. On the plane, Vivian asks Ren about the target and hears that all he knows is they need to find someone in a place called Yorkford. She peeks out the window, stunned that airplanes go even higher than Snoop Dogg, and shares that's her first time flying since she can fly wherever she wants. Lily roasts her and says that just means she's a broke bum who can't afford a ticket. Once they land, Vivian senses that the place looks way different from what she remembers. Lily says she's too tired to walk and wants a taxi, but Ren says he didn't get extra cash and hopes the hotel is close, so Vivian brags her English actually slaps hard and she can ask for directions, but a moment later she realizes no one understands her weird lingo from a few centuries ago. She then gets a 5-head idea and tells Lily to sniff the letter, and the moment she mentions the hotel has top-tier food, Lily's exhaustion vanishes like she just downed 5 Red Bulls and she bolts ahead. At the hotel, the girls go wild like cavemen seeing light bulbs for the first time. Ren looks back and forth in disbelief while Lily wolfs down food like she's a kid from Africa, and Vivian moans dramatically while mashing her face into the pillows, pushing Ren into full mental breakdown. Later, the 2 little gremlins apologize and Ren opens the map to check for clues. That's when Raven calls to ask why he still hasn't moved and is glued to the couch. He says the map is in Chinese and ain't nobody got time for that. The sassy lady agrees and the terminal gets an update with real-time translation. Lily excitedly asks if the terminal can translate wolf speak, giving it a full-on seizure. Ren steps in and says she probably just meant I'm hungry since that's the only word the starved clown knows. After that, they all get hungry and head to the dining hall where Lily swallows food like it's her last day on Earth. Vivian's bat notices the hallway statues are tagged with magical stickers on their rock-hard cheeks, so she warns the group to dip before it gets sketchy, but a flashy stranger tells her to sit down and introduces himself as Nangong from China. Ren asks if he knows anything about Yorkford and hears he's headed there too, though tourists usually avoid it because it's a ghost town with a cursed castle. That night, Ren realizes they still know nothing about the target when Vivian shows up with a serious face and says she senses a demon hunter. Her bat confirms the hotel's got spells everywhere, and she claims it must be the man from China, making Ren worry she's a Trump supporter. But then the Chinese guy pops up and casually says hi before admitting he's a demon hunter. He reintroduces himself as a demon hunter entrepreneur, but Vivian instantly calls him fake. He keeps a dead serious face, which only makes her crack up harder, and she wishes him sweet dreams as he tries to prove his skills by teleporting in front of her, only to trip and nearly win the speedrun for world's most embarrassing death. After that, he tells the gang that it's impossible for small names like him to blow up these days, so he promotes himself whenever he can and backs it with an incantation to impress Vivian. He then instantly clocks that Ren and the girls are not regular people, and while Ren tries to act clueless, Nangong calls him out since normal humans don't know about demon hunters. With that out of the way, Vivian admits they don't know the way, so Nangong graciously offers to lead the vampire babe to Yorkford. Ren feels weird that she trusts him so fast, but Vivian says it's just strategy and keeping their enemy close is useful as their target might be tied to his case. On the train to Yorkford, Vivian gets pissed about sitting next to the yapping mutt and the grown ladies start fighting like little girls. Ignoring the cranky monster girls, Ren turns to Nangong to ask about the ghost stuff only to learn even though he doesn't have much info. That's when the onboard TV plays an interview with a 3-foot Frankenstein who talks about what he saw. The fat man whispers like a creep about some wild blue fire swirling around the castle. He milks it hard with traumatic fear, and the reporter says the government now offers cash to whoever solves the mystery, which makes Vivian's eyes light up. Right then, Big Chungus, Indian grandpa, and a blonde chick walk in with bad vibes. The big guy loses it after his toe slams into Nangong's briefcase. Lily shifts it aside with ease, and the Chinese guy brags that it contains a powerful weapon. Vivian gives him a vibe check saying real demon hunters don't rely on weapons, which means he's trash at his job. Once they finally arrive at Yorkford, they are greeted by the crusty fat man from TV who apologizes that there are no empty rooms. But he says he's willing to make some empty for the hot babes with a grin so filthy it belongs on a wanted poster. After a brief wait, the ugly innkeeper hands them the keys. Vivian carries Lily upstairs, who's somehow asleep while standing, and of course, it turns into a bit of a commotion. Nangong grabs the other key for the room he'll be sharing with Ren, while the innkeeper asks if they're planning to visit the castle for the ghost events. Ren tries to brush it off, but Nangong jumps in like a complete clown, proudly announcing that he's a professional demon hunter from China and has come to wipe out all the evil spirits in the castle. The old man mutters something about hearing of Chinese necromancers before, but Nangong quickly dismisses them as second tier. The geezer apologizes and introduces himself as Angus, claiming he owns the hotel. Meanwhile, Vivian seems to be struggling with half-asleep Lily, who's clearly not making her job easy. Nangong asks the old man for a more private place to talk and requests a map, but Angus tells him there's no such thing and starts explaining that the so-called ghost castle was actually known as Yorkford Castle centuries ago. He tries his best to scare them off by sharing old spooky tales, saying that after a rebellion, a group of soldiers got trapped in the tunnels and turned into ghosts who now hunt treasure seekers for revenge. He elaborates that the first lord of the castle was a famous treasure hunter who hoarded so much loot that he built countless tunnels and traps, like the ones in Egyptian pyramids. This lord had 3 sons, but after his death, the eldest inherited the throne and the treasure, which caused a rebellion from the other 2. A city turned into a battlefield, and the castle was reduced to ruins, with all 3 brothers dying inside it. After hearing the tale, Ren heads over to Vivian and shares it with her like a husband reporting to his wife. Vivian reveals that her bat minions, which she sent to scout the castle, did pick up traces of ghostly scents, matching the old geezer's spooky story. But after putting the pieces together, she figures that since the ghosts are underground while the ghost events happen above ground, the 2 likely aren't connected. Instead, she suspects all this has something to do with a new tenant they're supposed to find. Ren then returns to his shared room and finds the demon hunter clinging to a photo. Turns out Nangong has a sister he deeply cares about, though he hasn't seen her since becoming a demon hunter, having left to protect her from his dangerous job. Ren panics at the thought of sleeping next to someone like that, but Nangong casually acts like he's already dozing off in his torn sleeping bag. To make things worse, the lights suddenly go out, though Nangong calmly assures him it's just a regular power cut at the hotel. The guy even offers to share his sleeping bag, but Ren shuts him down instantly. Meanwhile, the old geezer escorts a trio to the castle, demanding 50 euros per person. The trio argue that they agreed on 35, and after a brief commotion, they settle at 45. As the van drives off, Nangong sneaks from the window, smiling while spying on them through a binocular telescope. Back in the room, Ren is dozing off when the window suddenly swings open and Vivian jumps in, giving him a scare. She tells him that Nangong has already left, along with the same trio they saw on the train. Worried they might harm their tenant, the two quickly grab the still sleepy Lily and rush to follow. On the other hand, the old geezer does his best to spook the trio, while Nangong enjoys a free ride on top of their vehicle. Just then, a serpent slithers out of one of the trio's bags, startling the demon hunter since he's terrified of insects and similar creatures. The trio gets scared from the noise, but Angus suspects it to be a ghost moaning. Back to our hero, Vivian is flying high while carrying him through the sky, following their werewolf friend who's been tracking Nangong's scent. Along the way, she mentions how her summons have found a shortcut that might help them catch up. Just then, Ren realizes he has gotten enhanced vision and uses it to see that Lily has somehow fallen asleep mid-run, crashing headfirst into the ground. The two land to check on her, but luckily Lily's crash ends up revealing a shortcut to the castle. The shortcut turns out to be a rough one, filled with traps and obstacles, but they manage to make it through in one piece. After getting out, Vivian suggests they stay alert since they have no idea what's ahead. Fortunately, they manage to catch up to the trio and even spot some exorcists nearby. When Lily asks if they're close to the new tenant, Ren checks with the terminal, but it tells them to search on their own. He tries asking again, but the useless thing just plays deaf. The landlord and his tenants then spot something and realize it's just Nangong leaping around here and they're like a pro. Vivian suggests they just avoid him for now and stay out of his way. Ren checks the terminal once more, and this time, after he sincerely apologizes, it finally responds and confirms that they're close. When the trio arrives with the exorcists, Vivian and Lily put on a ghostly act and scare them off properly, with even the terminal helping out this time. Once the coast is clear, Vivian tells Lily to move the rock blocking the entrance, and all they find inside is a total mess. With Vivian's help, they spot some ancient text, which Ren gets the terminal to translate. The transcription reveals a riddle, and using Lily to solve it, Vivian uncovers a hidden staircase that might lead to their new tenant. As they head deeper into the dark dungeon, the stairs soon end and open into a massive underground tunnel system that is far too big, hinting that the rumors about a brutal war down here might actually be true. Out of nowhere, Lily picks up a scent and tells the other two to follow, while Nangong on the surface sniffs something sus under a boulder. Using his gravity ward, he lifts it and finds a secret path that he dives into right before the boulder uses its own gravity magic on him. Meanwhile, the girls sit down and chill like it's a damn picnic. When Vivian turns down her snack, Lily calls her a grandma scared her dentures might fall out. But before they throw hands, Ren swoops in saying they're both hot teen girls in his eyes. Right then, something sketchy echoes from the tunnels and they creep toward it, guessing it might be the new tenant. Vivian thinks they're close to the church, and as they round the corner, they spot an old man who looks like he drinks Pokemane's bath water every day. Before Lily can blow their cover with her loud mouth, Vivian claps it shut and uses her powers to turn them into misty figures, which makes them look like ghosts. While the two try to cook a plan, Lily sneaks up on the guy like she's about to do stealth takedown on the creep and tickles the life out of him, followed by Ren bullying him until the man breaks and admits he just wants money to impress his wife who left with the kids. Vivian's mist starts to fade, so Ghost Ren commands him to vanish before he gets angry. Once the creep is gone, Lily points to some drawings on the wall which Vivian identifies as ancient runes warning that the spirit of the evil Diddy is sealed there, and waking him will alert the thousands of ghosts guarding it. Vivian places her hand on the wall, which glows ominously as arrows rain down from above. While Ren shields the girls, Lily breaks through a door on the side. At the same time, Nangong crawls through an endless tunnel when a cute rat shows up right in his face and startles him so hard he blows himself up like a creeper. As they move ahead, Ren observes the rundown area before realizing they are smack in the middle of a textbook boulder trap, so the trio presses against the wall to sneak past it, but the lobotomized dog girl barks after the rolling rock like it's a fetch quest and ends up opening a trap door. Vivian swoops in and narrowly stops her from turning into a splatter stain, while Nangong finally reaches the rune wall. He grins like a fool and believes he can totally read the Chinese and touches them. only to get turned into Swiss cheese by a storm of arrows. When the girls finally land, Ren crashes down with his colossal dump truck and flattens them, but they forget all about it the second they spot treasure piled high. Ren stops them right before they leap into a pit of spikes and catches that it's all a thirst trap made for greedy clowns, while he demonstrates some Buddha tier patience. As they venture further, Ren springs a trap that causes the walls to close in on them, and the second Lily tries to use her powers, she goes weak in the knees. The same happens to Vivian, and both girls realize their powers are sealed. Lily whines she never got to eat a pancake before becoming one herself, and Vivian tells Ren to run, but Ultra Instinct Shaggy stays calm and pops off with just 1% of his energy, leaving the girls stunned. Meanwhile, Nangong arrives at the boulder zone where he pulls the 5-head move of hugging the wall, but then Mr. Smooth Brain walks right up the slope thinking treasure awaits, only to drop down a trapdoor that lands him in a massive lake. On the flip side, Ren and the girls decide it's break time when our guy almost wets himself as a ghost knight appears, and then his whole squad chases after them. Lily punches the first one and nabs his golden sword, while Vivian seals the path behind them as they dive into the next room. Lily spots something etched into the blade, and Vivian freezes after reading that the thing locked up here isn't some ghost, but a magic stone that can summon demons from purgatory. Lily asks why they don't just smash the thing, but Vivian says that's not how it works since the stone is sealed. If that seal breaks, some ultra-dangerous threat might pop out and plunge the whole world into chaos. Ren then asks if the magic stone happens to be the giant glowing crystal floating above them. Meanwhile, Nangong looks ready to rage quit life until he senses an insane surge of magic that suddenly makes him feel his life is worth living. Ren also starts spiraling into hopelessness and begs Terminal to call his boss for backup, but the salty bot says he'd rather watch him suffer a while longer. While that mess unfolds, Nangong finds himself cornered at a dead end and, doing what any genius would do, decides to blow it up. The explosion takes out one of the crystal supports and triggers a trap so dumb it hurts, unleashing a bunch of ghost knights straight into the chamber. Just when the trio ends up cornered by the guards, arrows start raining down from above as the so-called professional demon hunter arrives for a dramatic rescue. Nangong spots the three and wonders how they managed to get there, but decides it's not the time for questions. He leaps into the air like he's got wings, only to crash land straight into the mess, losing a tooth in the process. Shaking it off, he pulls off some flashy technique to freeze the ghost soldiers and takes them out with his crossbow. Ren looks pretty amazed, though Vivian calls his moves rusty. But before they can catch a breath, the trio gets surrounded again. Vivian tells them to hold the line while she gathers her blood-sucked aura for something big. Lily charges at the ghosts and Ren blocks with his shield to stall time, while Nangong, now out of ammo, ends up as ghost bait. As the ghosts start closing in on the helpless jerk, Lily hurls a huge rock that knocks out not just the ghosts, but also the so-called professional demon hunter. While the field clears out, Vivian finishes charging her energy and floats up into the air with her wings stretched wide. With a final burst, she unleashes her blood-sex finishing move, and just when it feels like they have won, the powerful blast suddenly shifts midair and gets sucked into the glowing ruby crystal suspended above. The crystal begins to shine and activates, opening a path in the sky. From that path, a series of meteors rain down while Ren throws out his shield to protect them from the crumbling ruins of the castle. Out of the sky descends a demonic monster that looks like some final boss of a superhero show. As Ren tries to shake Nangong awake, the magma beast swoops down and scoops him up in one claw while unintentionally grabbing the demon hunter along with him. Ren freaks out from the height, but the demon silently flies off to some distant spot and tosses them down. Vivian and Lily rush over asking their landlord if he is still breathing. And just when things look like they are about to get serious, Vivian declares that her blood-sect powers are equal to the demons. She starts channeling her aura and summons a bloody moon into the sky. The moonlight, however, instead of boosting their werewolf tenant, makes her yawn and she passes out right there. Vivian gets ready to unleash an attack she claims once sent some guy named Poseidon flying, but right before she can go full blast, the demon interrupts everything by repeatedly calling out to his landlord in a tone that makes it hard to tell whether he is serious or just bored. The useless machine finally wakes up and announces the obvious, claiming they have found the new tenant. The demon introduces himself as Yizax, while Vivian asks the dumb terminal if this is a technical glitch of some kind, but the machine confirms the signal is coming from right here. Yizax thanks Nangong for waking him up and tries to return the favor by spinning him around in his claws, only to end up flinging him far off into the distance. He then turns to his new landlord and asks for a leasing contract. Vivian protests, but Lily doesn't even hesitate before agreeing and shakes hands with him like they are long-lost friends. She even gives the demon a nickname, calling him a big guy, which he seems to like. When Ren asks the terminal if they still need to worry about the ghosts haunting the castle, Isaac takes the job himself and wipes them out with a meteor attack, taking the entire castle down with them. Out of all things the terminal could comment on, it just says how polite the new tenant is. Vivian tries to argue against accepting the demon, but ends up getting flattered when Isaac compliments her magic as powerful. Right then, Ren hears reporters approaching and starts panicking that the demon is going to go viral online. Isaac offers to fix that by blowing them up with another meteor, but before that mess happens, Ren quickly asks if he can just turn into a human instead. Luckily, the big guy transforms into one, though now he just looks like some chain-snatching thug from a crime show. The next day, Ren heads over to meet his boss and starts complaining right away about nearly dying the place she sent him to. Raven doesn't even flinch and instead asks about his new tenant. Ren explains how the guy tries to solve every issue by throwing meteors and eats soy sauce like he's sponsored by it. He also found out that the guy crash-landed on Earth in his spaceship about a month ago, and that the magic stone they saw was just a random portal. Raven explains that the big guy's spaceship actually got stuck in another dimension, which is the real reason she sent Ren on that mission. When Ren asks what Isaac used to do before all this, Raven cheerfully drops the bomb that he used to be a demon tycoon who messed up his business and ended up getting scammed by his own people. Back in the house, the big guy somehow manages to act all decent and even heads out for an interview since he needs to pay his rent. Vivian throws in a sarcastic comment about how even demons these days seem to have their act together, only for Lily to fire back by mocking her for being totally irresponsible, which sparks another fight between the two. Later, when Ren returns home, he heads over to the warehouse and finds it completely cleaned up. Vivian has cleared out all the junk since she plans to make it her new room now that the new big tenant has shown up. She then shows him a plate she found during the cleanup with some strange text carved on it. Pointing it out, she mentions the writing looks odd, and the moment Ren sees it, he instantly recalls that it looks exactly like the plate he found in that dream dimension, the one he thought he lost but later recovered from the laundry. Seeing it again, he hopes the Wolf King is doing fine, and when Vivian asks what's on his mind, he replies he's wondering how to return to that strange dream world. Taking a closer look at the plate, Vivian suggests it might not be a coincidence, and maybe he visited that dream realm when he was a kid. She starts reading the text with a serious face but drops the act right after, saying she doesn't get any of it. Just then, Ren gets a phone call and is told that Isaac has been caught by the police, and Vivian comments that it was only a matter of time considering he already looks like a walking crime poster. The next day, Ren drags himself like a zombie toward Raven's sudden mission call when he spots a pretty girl singing without lyrics in the park. Terminal jokes that she is probably homeless and makes a living on the streets. As Ren stands mesmerized by her voice, the girl smiles and waves at him. He waves back but remembers he has no cash to offer, so she watches him walk rudely away and gets mad. At the mansion, Ren sees Raven mid-mood swing as she tells him the next target was accidentally transported to a planet light years away and now it's his job to go fetch them. Ren says he needs a break after the madness he just went through, but she tells him to man up. She explains that he'll be transported to the Kuiper space station, and from there his spacecraft will carry him to the distant exoplanet. Then she adds that the planet's mostly covered in water, so he'll need a sea expert, which turns out to be the same cute park girl who's still salty about being ignored. Enjoying the awkwardness, Raven reveals she's also Ren's new tenant. Back at the house, the girl introduces herself as the Traveler Wayu. Lily greets her and Goodman flexes his big black biceps while casually dropping he's a devil, leaving Wayu staring in shock. Vivian asks about her race and Wayu explains she's a siren though she grew up on land, which is why she has legs. Seeing Ren's confusion, Vivian explains sirens are rare sea dwellers with only females, known for luring mates with their sweet singing. After the welcome feast wraps up, Ren briefs them about the new mission to find tenant number 5 and says only 2 of them can tag along. Vivian asks where they're headed since she knows every inch of Earth but panics when Ren says they're going to space. Goodman proudly shares that he has space experience. Lily throws a tantrum at the thought of missing out but suddenly keels over with a stomach ache despite barely eating, meaning she's probably sick, so Ren thinks it's a bad idea to take her along. The next morning, Ren stands on the balcony as Vivian and Lily wave goodbye. Before he says anything, Terminal teleports them into space without warning, and they land inside the Kuiper space station, where a cute green-haired alien lady greets them as their guide. She explains that the station has specialized zones for different species' comfort, though Wayu notes that her station feels as empty as her soul. Ignoring her sass, the guide asks Ren to focus and tells him they're heading to their assigned ship, which is run by an alien crew. The thought of meeting real aliens lights him up, and when our gang reach the spaceship, their jaws drop at how cool the ship straight out of a sci-fi movie is, and the alien crew members also look pretty goofy. Terminal tells them to stop gawking like American tourists and get on already. Once inside, Ren looks around expecting more passengers but realizes they're completely alone except for themselves. As they listen to Terminal explain the mission, Elon Musk with fabulous pink hair introduces himself as the ship's captain and boldly claims that although their destination sits light years away, his chiseled jawline boosts aerodynamics so they'll get there in a day. Right after he says that, the ship starts shaking like a tractor, and the moment Captain Musk gives the order, the ship launches off like a torpedo. During the ride, the gang passes time in the card game, which Goodman dominates so hard Wuyu doubts this is his first time. Ren stares out the window and wonders why lightspeed travel feels so slow, but then the ship jolts again and the captain claims that was the sound of his rival zooming past them. He says it's finally time to prove his rocket is bigger and hits climax faster. Terminal quickly translates his yapping and says Captain Musk wants to beat the enemy transport company in a race, and the man completely ignores Ren, saying he has to stop on the way. Terminal warns that if they don't junk ship now, they'll drift around space for years before reaching the target. As the two ships bang each other like they're Beyblades, the trio rushes toward the nearest escape shuttle. Ren asks Terminal how to power it up, and the moment he plugs it in, the bot screams that he's screwed because the ship can't launch unless the hatch opens and only the captain has access. Ren looks stuck, but Goodman grins like he's waited his whole life for this. He says he's been bench pressing trucks and promises his big beefy biceps never let him down. He throws himself at the hatch and transforms, pushing like a monster until it cracks wide open. Terminal launches the escape ship with Goodman still on top, and they dive straight toward the target planet. On their way down, the temperature spikes and Terminal casually mentions that the brakes are cooked. Ren and Wuyu freak out while Goodman lounges on the roof like it's a beach day because he's clearly built different. As they hit the atmosphere, things begin to cool, but not enough to stop them from crashing. Ren watches the ocean get bigger and bigger until the broken ship smashes down into the waves, and the last thing he sees before blacking out is a stunning mermaid baddie swimming right toward him. The next thing Ren knows, he finds himself back in the dream dimension again. The Terminal explains that some sort of spiritual instability caused by drowning has pulled him here. After realizing that the Terminal can function in both worlds at once, Ren hears a strange noise and quickly heads out of the cabin, spotting the same old wolf clan from before being attacked and pushed around by a group of red wolves. Just as the wolves are about to get hit, Ren steps in and saves them using his shield. The elder wolf says that accepting pity would bring disgrace to their tribe, but when Ren refuses to back off, the old guy admits he's grateful for the help, especially since losing his teeth has basically made him useless as their leader. Some of the other wolves remind Ren about the dentist he promised, and Ren assures them he'll definitely bring one next time. He then pulls out the tile with writing on it and asks the big guy if he can recognize it. The elder wolf says it looks like some ancient language, and just as he's about to drop some wise old man knowledge passed on by a mysterious teacher, who apparently also taught him how to throw a frisbee, Ren suddenly wakes up in the real world. Wuyu stands nearby and casually mentions that the demon guy was just about to hurl a lightning ball at him in hopes of waking him up. Ren obviously freaks out, but the Terminal calmly insists everything's fine as long as it's with him. Calling Ren a hopeless slacker, the Terminal moves on to share its findings from scanning the planet, saying there are two key locations where the remains of the aircraft and their next potential tenant might be. Without wasting time, the three immediately dive into planning, completely ignoring the Terminal like it's just background noise. Meanwhile, back at Ren's house, the two tenants who got left behind are at it again, bickering like always while two shady gangster-looking figures quietly observe them from a rooftop nearby, discussing something that's apparently about to begin. Back on the other planet, 200 billion light-years away, the trio arrives at the first crash site. After looking over the massive wreckage, Ren remarks that if this thing had crashed on Earth like it was supposed to, it would have taken over the headlines for half a year without question. Seeing the scale of destruction, Wuyu starts worrying that their tenant might already be dead, but Mr. Demon calmly suggests they check thoroughly before making assumptions. They examine the site closely, and after taking apart what's left of the aircraft, his axe concludes that there is nothing here. Not even a corpse, which leaves them with just one hope now, which is the second crash site. That one is said to have the cargo cabin, and based on the Terminal scans, it might actually hold their mysterious tenant. Ren asks why anyone would be inside a cargo bay, and the Terminal casually explains that survival chances are higher there, especially for someone abnormally strong. After reaching the second site where the wreck lies underwater, Wuyu doesn't hesitate for a second and dives straight into the sea, leaving Ren panicking on the spot. The Terminal calmly drops the bomb that the remains are sitting 5,000 meters deep. Just as Ren starts complaining, Wuyu throws her clothes at him, transforming into a mermaid, which catches him off guard. When he blurts out that she's a mermaid, she clarifies that it's just one of many forms she can take. She adds that she can only carry one person along, and since Ren is the one with the job title, he gets the ticket. The big guy helps speed things up by tossing Ren into the water like luggage. Wuyu catches him mid-plunge, and the moment Ren opens his mouth expecting to drown, he realizes he can actually breathe as she's controlling the water around them. On their way down, a shark-like creature approaches, and Wuyu instantly morphs into an octopus to scare it off, casually mentioning how shark bites really hurt. Ren, trying to process all this, asks if he can also turn into an octopus, and Wuyu responds that she can become pretty much anything before proving it by turning into a mantis shrimp. The shrimp zips down to the seabed with him, reaching the wreck. Ren switches on the terminal to use as a flashlight, much to its dismay, and finally spots the cargo. While the shell looks a bit battered, the inside seems well preserved. Wuyu then shifts into a sea snake and coils around the cargo to form a barrier, finally letting Ren go inside. While Ren keeps arguing with the terminal to contact his boss since there seems to be no one inside, Wuyu ends up finding a capsule filled with an egg and a bunch of baby products. Ren quickly connects with Raven and starts complaining that the tenant might have floated off somewhere in space, though it suddenly clicks that the thing he mistook for a ball is actually the new unhatched tenant. Meanwhile, Wuyu unknowingly drops the egg, scaring the life out of everyone, but luckily the egg survives the fall like one of those phones that somehow live through a triple-story drop. When Ren asks how they're even supposed to get back, Raven finally says she'll personally escort them this time and tells him to wait at the wasteland. While the trio waits around, clearly bored out of their minds, the old woman finally shows up out of nowhere and crash lands her spaceship right on top of poor Ren, while Wuyu manages to dash out of the way just in time. Ren starts yelling that he would have actually died, but Raven casually flips his outrage on its head by announcing that the spaceship now belongs to him. Ren refuses to believe that someone as broke as him could ever own something this cool, though that disbelief doesn't stop him from instantly falling in love with it. When he asks what it's called, Raven proudly tells him it's named the most powerful hybrid turtle, which doesn't impress anyone except our guide, who looks ready to marry the thing. She then explains that the egg they found belongs to a mermaid from another universe that got wiped out, and the egg just happens to be the last surviving remnant. Raven assures them that the egg is sturdy and should hatch fine, unless Ren gets the brilliant idea to scramble it for breakfast. She adds that Wuyu would be perfect to care for it since not only is she a siren, but one that hatched from an egg herself. With that, the group boards the ship to head home, though with Ren as the new captain, there's absolutely no guarantee they'll survive the ride. Back at Ren's house, the gang finally teleports in and heads off to rest, only to find the place wrecked and Vivian dragging a tied-up Lily behind her. Lily glares at them like a feral beast and jumps Ren out of nowhere. She spots the egg, but Goodman blocks her from making an omelet out of it, while Vivian explains that Lily dozed off after dinner and then went rabid on her for no reason. Ren tells Terminal to teleport them to the ship so they can meet Raven, but Terminal refuses to risk its property to Miss Wild Mutt, so Goodman steps up. He pulls out demon magic and whips up a big black magic circle, using barbecue sauce even as Lily gnaws on his head, leaving Vivian stunned by his skills. Once it's done, they teleport to Raven's mansion where she's busy inhaling cup noodles like a queen, but her fun stops once she senses trouble knocking. She throws shade at Ren, who begs her to listen, and right as he starts, Lily munches on her like a hungry raccoon. Raven grabs her by the nape and commands her to look into her eyes and say what she sees. Lily, with full confidence, says she sees a tasty noodle on her lips. Raven tries again, and this time Lily sees a glowing red moon above the sea where everyone she loves melts away. The horror triggers something in her and she goes into beast mode, but Raven flicks her forehead and knocks her out. Still slurping noodles, Raven believes she's going through reversion, saying Lily took on her wolf form as part of evolution. This process usually takes years, so Vivian starts to freak out, wondering if Goodman's demon steroids made it into dinner. Raven explains wolves react to moonlight, and Ren recalls the blood-red moon at Yorkford. With that, Raven tells them to toss Lily into the enhancement room and stop wasting her free time. Lily wakes up in the coffin a few hours later and apologizes for worrying them all before she starts fighting with Vivian like usual, while the rest of the gang is just relieved she's okay. Ren tells them to go home while he gives Raven a full report. Inside her office, Raven asks if his new life is going fine, and Ren says yes, but she warns that Lily's reversion isn't over and she's only suppressed it for the time being. Ren starts to worry, and Raven believes that the best move is to let her evolve during the next full moon, which turns out to be the very next night. She tells him she's busy, so this one's on him, and it's not her job to babysit his tenants anyways. The following day, Ren buys everything on the list for a camping night in the wild and unsuspectingly walks by the Yakuza-looking guy who has his eyes on him. Back at home, he finds Vivian cooking poison like a witch from Scooby-Doo, which she says is her family's special recipe with the Colonel's secret 11 herbs and spices. As the night drags on, Lily keeps munching spicy potato sticks like a chopper machine, while the rest play games until they were so tired they slowly crash one by one. Later, she sits alone under the moon and her loud howl wakes Ren, who calls out to her a few times. She snaps back cranky, so Goodman grabs the barbecue sauce and tells everyone to stay inside his magic barrier. After some powerful winds wreak havoc through the area, Lily's evolution finally wraps up, and once the dust clears, the gang stands speechless at the sight of a humongous cute Siberian husky instead of some vicious wolf. Staring into her adorable puppy eyes, Ren walks up without hesitation and she licks him in return like he's a meat-flavored popsicle. Vivian hits Lily in the face with a ball, hoping to knock her out, but that backfires and she goes full beast mode. Ren asks Vivian to fly him over, with Goodman and Weave following. He tells Goodman to stop Lily and watch him cook, but she eats the big guy like a football right onto Wayu, who feels her soul leave her body from the 300 pounds on top of her. Vivian traps Lily using her magic, giving Ren a chance to climb up. He tries the power of friendship speech, which ticks her off even more. Just then, she freezes at the sound of the soft melody of Wayu, who's really proud she could help. After Ren promises Lily some juicy ribs at home, the oversized pup gives a happy woof and knocks out. As Lily shrinks back, Wayu zooms in to block Ren's view while Vivian weaves a magic mantle to cover her. The girls offer to handle the cleanup and send Ren home with Lily sleeping on his back, unaware of the sketchy duo lying in wait for him. Right after Ren questionably gets her changed with a blindfold on, he hits a karate chop to the neck by the first guy who is disappointed how weak he is, while the tough man has his eyes set on Lily. When Lily opens her eyes, she finds herself drifting through space, equipped with strange gear that lets one hand shift into cold claws and the other into burning hot ones. She dozes off again and wakes up later, this time lying on the dusty floor of what looks like a trashed warehouse, wondering if her landlord's place got wrecked so badly it's now under renovation. As she gets up and tries to reach the door, a sudden jolt of electricity zaps her, prompting her to immediately blame Miss Bat for the shock. But before she can make sense of it, a shadow creeps in and the two shady brothers from before show up. Husky asks who they are, and they calmly claim to be her allies who can offer support. The bigger one insists that the blood sect woman has clearly brainwashed her and now it's time for them to step in. Lily questions them about her friends' whereabouts, and when told to stay away from them, she snaps back saying her friends are actually good people. The younger brother tries reasoning with her but grows irritated when she refuses to listen. Lily charges at him, and while he restrains her, the bulky one knocks her out with the so-called ace karate chop. The younger one grumbles that they don't have time to waste babysitting, and just as one of Vivian's summoned creatures, who had been spying, tries to slip out unnoticed, the big guy launches an attack, but it seems the little spy escapes, leaving the brothers panic that their hideout may now be exposed. Back at Ren's place, the poor landlord is found knocked out cold while the rest of the tenants crowd around him, trying to wake him up and asking where Lily is, clearly worried since this is the first time she's ever skipped a meal. Ren finally comes to, and after piecing things together, tells them he was knocked out and Lily must have been kidnapped. He yells like he's got it all figured out, but the moment Mr. Demon asks where they're supposed to even start looking, he's already holding his head like it hurts. Just then, one of Vivian's bat scouts flutters in, having transformed into Lily's clothes. The group turns to the terminal for help, and for once the useless hunk of metal actually comes through, tracing the signal to an old steel plant, which Isaacs and Vivian quickly piece together. Ren actually manages to think for once and lists out all the nearby steel plants he knows. The group decides to split up, with our guy clinging to Vivian's team as always, mostly because she's the only one willing to carry his dead weight. Meanwhile, the two shady brothers are busy plotting something pointless, working overtime to stop the blood sect girl from pulling off something she doesn't even intend to do. They double down on security, convinced they're being clever, and make sure no one can sneak past their so-called defenses. As Ren and the blood sect lady reach the suspected hideout, Vivian immediately notices that the fog surrounding the place isn't just any fog but black fog, a cursed kind of magic she's had run-ins with before, and from the looks of it, a particularly nasty one. Meanwhile, the other half of the crew ends up in trouble thanks to the demon-looking dude smashing a door open after wrongly assuming Lily was trapped inside. Back with Vivian, the Bat Lady downgrades to tossing rocks into the fog and watches them burn away in midair, which only confirms her suspicion. She casually suggests that Ren might be able to cancel it out since his weirdly useless self has managed to do that more than once already. Ren runs a quick little test and then asks her to carry him up. Vivian tells him to keep his shield ready in case something goes wrong, but before they're fully in the air, the younger shady brother spots them and hurls an attack that Vivian barely dodges. As the guy shifts into a demi-wolf form that looks a lot like Lily's, they start suspecting he might be from her clan. Vivian wastes no time, drops Ren to the side, and charges into battle with the wolf brother. Meanwhile, on the other side, the demon tenant somehow manages to turn the situation into a game with the workers, completely unaware that chaos is already breaking loose. As the battle kicks off between the wolf and the bat lady, Vivian quickly takes control of the fight, and somewhere mid-clash, the wolf suddenly calls her by her forgotten title, asking if she really is the Countess of the Crimson Moon. Meanwhile, our demon tenant finally manages to defeat the confused workers and escapes the ridiculous distraction. Even Ren appears to be doing something remotely useful, climbing up a rod like a snail while yelling Lily's name as if she's just going to magically pop out of nowhere. He somehow reaches a window and jumps in, only to come face to face with the big wolf brother, who tries using his signature neck slammer again. But thankfully, Ren's shield activates just in time to save him from another trip to unconsciousness. Ren quickly throws up his shield and runs for his life, though the wolf turns out to be annoyingly faster. As Ren keeps running, the terminal wakes up just to point out the obvious that Ren has no chance without a fight. Ren snaps back, saying he's just a regular guy, but the terminal insists his body has been enhanced enough to go head-to-head. After giving it some thought, Ren stops and tries to fight, only to get completely wrecked and sent flying like Teen Rocket blasting off. While recovering, Ren wonders how the guy keeps finding him no matter where he hides, and Terminal casually reminds him that wolves tend to have a decent sense of smell. Before Ren even gets the chance to stand up properly, the wolf is already on him again, but this time Ren takes a massive leap and finally uses his head for once. He causes Rain to mess with the wolf's sense of smell, then ditches the idea of fighting and focuses on what matters, which is finding his hungry tenant. He locates Lily sleeping and wakes her up to tell her everyone's been freaking out about her, but all she does is complain about being hungry and demands food like nothing happened. Ren asks her to head home with him and tries to sneak her away, but the wolf shows up once more. Ren straight up asks if the guy's a part-time kidnapper now, only for the wolf to claim that the girl is his companion. Lily flat out denies it, which the wolf blames on her being brainwashed by a vampire. Right then, Vivian bursts in and smacks Evan, the younger wolf, knocking him out. The big guy rushes to check on him, and Vivian finally rejoins the group. When the older wolf gets angry, Evan tells him not to fight her since she's a countess. Before fists start flying again, Ren actually acts like the adult in the room and asks them to sit down and talk. During their little group meeting, Ren explains that Lily is just his tenant and nothing more, though the wolf struggles to believe that someone from their kind could peacefully coexist with the blood sect. While arguing, the wolf brother lets slip that some old prophecy is nearing where the outcasts will finally regain full strength. Just as things start to settle, another uninvited group arrives, and it's none other than the demon hunters. The wolf brothers instantly transform, looking ready to throw hands before getting surprised and attacked from behind, while the man who looks like Giovanni without the aura distracts them. When Ren tries to hit him with Talk No Jutsu, the old man tells him not to take it personally and signals his troops to move in. Ren shields the wolves until their ammo runs dry, and the squad makes a run for it. Bolts rain down again, but this time Vivian and Lily clean house, while Ren eats Terminal like a flashbang without consent. As the enemy squad scrambles, Vivian plays with the hairless potato like a toy, while Lily bullies the other hunter harder than a lead player at 3 a.m. Meanwhile, Ren finally thinks he's safe when more old men approach, only for the wolf bros to jump in. A red-haired baddie shows up and claims Ren as her prey. She attacks without holding back, shocked that someone with malnutrition hit so hard. Still, she pushes him around with her explosive rounds and counters his attack like she's Revy from Black Lagoon by jumping off and shooting him midair, but Ren makes it out and beats her with the brutal force of cold hard gravity. On the other side, the wolf bros get overpowered. When Evan takes a hit straight to the vitals, his brother loses it and almost rips the shooter apart before Giovanni stabs a dagger into his shoulder that freezes half his body. The man says it's a shame to unlip such a young one and offers to spare him if the older brother gives up their goal. Right as he agrees, Ren crashes in like the final boss, followed by Lily, who awakens her new powers at the sight of Evan bleeding out. With a mix of fire and ice, she summons hurricanes way bigger than the ones that hit America and blast them all to safety. Later, they regroup in the forest. Big Brother admits his bold moves led the hunters right to them. Lily and Goodman arrive soon after. Wuyu checks Evan's injuries and says she can fix him up easy, and with no better option left, the Big Brother hesitantly agrees. While she heals Evan, they do introductions, and Ren tells everyone that the people who kidnapped Lily were sent by her own clan. Vivian presses him on the reason behind it, and the man explains they're just following the Siren prophecy, which says outcasts will soon rise up and dominate humanity once and for all to reclaim their old glory, which is why they wanted Lily back. Lily calls his logic brainless, but Big Brother argues he thought the vampire queen brainwashed her. Wuyu finishes healing Evan and looks happy she can help when suddenly another hunter fails to ambush them and nearly gets his skull crushed by Goodman's extra girthy fingers. Giovanni tells him to stand down, but Goodman refuses to go down without a fight. Lily tells him to pound the geezer, but the big guy says his heart's just as huge and wants to try his special move diplomacy first. Still, Giovanni politely asks the friendly big guy to move out of his way because he's got so-called criminals to arrest. Goodman frowns and tells him hurting innocent people makes him a bad, bad man, and the big guy lets Giovanni know he does not want to find out what he does to bad men. First, Goodman summons a meteor to scare the crap out of the fool, who bolts immediately, only for the big guy to teleport behind him and whisper all the fun things waiting for him if he doesn't fix his ways. Realizing there's no getting through to him, Goodman flicks the guy into permanent sleep mode. As the Wolf brothers prepare to leave, Wu stops them and asks about the siren who told them the prophecy and what it actually said. After that, they invite Lily to come back one last time, and she says she's pretty happy where she is. Goodman ties up the naughty hunters while the gang also gets ready to go, until Mommy suddenly appears and grabs Wu as a hostage. She demands her allies back, and Wu calls out to Ren for help. Just then, a cocky voice echoes through the forest, bragging about his demon hunting skills and Giga Chad energy. Nangbang enters the scene and tells Mommy to hand over the siren, promising to return her after questioning her, so the lady lets her go in exchange for her allies and vanishes, frustrating Goodman that they escaped before they see the hunters light up Christmas lights thanks to Terminal's traps. Wu then elbows the guy in his gut and hugs Lily because she was super scared, while Nangbang walks to her saying he was most worried about and asks all of them why they're with Wu. She walks up to him with a goofy smile and then blasts him off like Team Rocket into the nearby tree and shouts at her backup Oni-chan to stay out of her life. Back at home, Lily puts something on the stove to boil while Nangbang reveals his real name is Sanba and claims he's the brother of the cutest girl in the world who stays stuck in his head non-stop till she nearly crushes his neck in half to shut his yapper. She boils over him, stalking her everywhere, and when Ren tries defending his brotherly love, she fires back by listing the times that creepy rat hole of a big brother keeps watching her, whether she's in the ocean, in the bath, or that one time he even set traps to protect her during the camping trip, only for those things to blow up in her face. To dial things down a little, Ren asks about their parents, and Samba says their father used to be a demon hunter like him who fell in love with a siren, which gets Vivian curious enough to ask if she can meet them, but Wu explains they vanished one day and that's why she's been traveling the world to find them. Confused, she then asks how they know her brother, so Ren talks about the mission at Orphan Castle, which reminds Samba that he never actually figured out who the ghost was. Vivian pauses for a moment to think if he can be trusted, but Wu casually sips her tea and says the demon hunter is dumb as bricks if he's practically harmless, so Ren tells Samba he actually found out the ghost was the big buff demon in front of him. Goodman steps in and introduces himself, followed by Lily, who still doesn't know she's a husky, and after Vivian teases her about it a little, she breaks down crying. Watching that, Vivian offers to confirm her race with a blood test and tricks Lily into getting close before she bares her fangs and gives her a spicy love bite. Samba gets a little too excited watching from up close, but Goodman tells him to calm down and keep it in his pants. Once Vivian wraps up, she reveals that Lily's not just a husky, but even carries noble blood, confirming she has nothing to do with wolves. That makes her angry, so the girls start fighting as the Wolf brothers show up at the door. Inside, Vivian gets suspicious and asks why they came, to which the big brother says he wants to recruit one of the tenants. Things get messy fast as everyone ignores Ren and chaos breaks out. So Big Brother figures he's got no choice and slams a brick of gold on the table to bribe the vampire princess, and it works like a charm. Lily smugly claims her heart doesn't fall for such material trash, snapping Vivian out of it just as the house suddenly goes dark. At first, they think it's an attack, but Lily points out the stove is off, so Ren checks with Terminal about his bank balance, and it replies that it's as empty as his non-existent brain. He tries to figure out where all of his pay went when Lily remembers she asked Vivian to cash out his check, and Vivian vaguely remembers getting confused and tossing it in the trash. The Wolf brothers laugh while Ren gets depressed and turns to each tenant begging for money, only to learn they're all just as broke as he is, so he gives up and locks himself in his room. The next day, he wakes up and finds the whole house is empty and the bills are still unpaid, so he pulls out Terminal and asks it to teleport him to Raven. Meanwhile, a customer walks into a dog cafe where a cute maid who turns out to be Lily welcomes him with a precious smile. At the same time, Wu is out singing in the park to make ends meet, when she becomes worried about her brother whose whereabouts are unknown. Turns out he's deep in the snowy mountains, hiking to the spot where he buried his inheritance 10 years ago, only to slip and fall like Humpty Dumpty. Meanwhile, Ren asks Raven for some cash, which makes her real salty. Still, she agrees to help him just this once since he's been pulling his weight recently. After that, he reports that the plates he found in the dream world have the prophecy carved on them. Raven tells him that it should have been obvious since the dream world's crawling with outcasts and that's where they come from. and she's genuinely shocked to see how clueless he's been the whole time. At night, Ren teleports back home and receives a surprise dinner from the tenants who grinded the entire day hustling to pay the bills. He thanks them and Lily surprises him with a cake she baked at the cafe. Seeing them getting along so well, the Wolf brothers finally decide to stop trying to take Lily back. During their dinner, Ren tells everyone about his mission to explore the dream world to find out more about the prophecy, which gives Wu hope about maybe finding her mother. Lily asks him permission to tag along and goes bonkers when he says yes, followed by Vivian, who wants to investigate her lost memories, and Goodman, who is both hyped up to see what's out in the universe. Suddenly, he remembers it's been a long time since he's seen the fifth tenant, and Wu remembers she put the egg in the kitchen sink, completely unaware of what the rock is cooking. Lily excitedly waits for the egg to finish cooking as the rest come in and ask her what she's doing. The autistic doggo innocently lifts the lid and reveals the egg, leaving everyone in raw shock. As he stares at them innocently with her puppy eyes, the egg suddenly cracks open. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.